Senator from Oregon.
I rise to oppose the nomination of Rodney Scott to lead the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency. In my view, this is yet another appalling nomination from the Trump administration. As a senior federal official, agents in Mr. Scott's direct chain of command tried to cover up their culpability in the beating death of a man in their custody with his help. His record, in my view, is disqualifying for someone seeking one of the most important law enforcement posts in the nation. U.S. Customs and Border Protection has extraordinary discretion to conduct searches of Americans' belongings and phones, and to interrogate American citizens at border crossings and to seize illicit goods. The agency has more than 60,000 employees. Leading this agency requires someone whose judgment and character are unquestioned. Mr. Scott does not meet the bar. In 2010, Mr. Scott led the San Diego sector of the Border Patrol, a position that included oversight of a unit that tampered with evidence after agents beat and tased Mr. Rojas while in their custody. He died of those injuries soon after. This unit taped over recordings of the incident and served an illegal subpoena on the hospital for the man's medical records, then refused to share them with local law enforcement. This is according to allegations filed with the Inter-American Human Rights Commission of the Organization of American States and by police investigators. The actions were so egregious, the Human Rights Commission concluded a few weeks ago that the U.S. government violated Mr. Rojas' family's right of access to justice. Mr. President, I would ask unanimous consent now to enter the Critical Incidents Team and DHS Inspector General's reports about the incident, first obtained by the Project on Government Oversight, into the record.
Without objection.
Mr. President, Mr. Scott admitted before the Finance Committee that he signed the illegal subpoena and expressed no remorse for his actions. He appears so unfazed by these allegations of brazen lawlessness that it seems inevitable he will sanction similar abuses of power if he is confirmed to lead Customs and Border Patrol. Since Donald Trump took office, on far too many occasions, CBP has shown contempt for the constitutional rights of Americans. For example, in Texas, a 10-year-old U.S. citizen was left in Mexico with her family after being stopped by CBP on her way to a doctor's appointment for brain cancer treatment. In Washington, CBP detained a family of 6, including a pregnant mother who was still breastfeeding her baby, a U.S. citizen. CBP held them in a windowless cell for 24 days. They had no access to due process or ability to contest their detention. In Arizona, a 19-year-old U.S. citizen with intellectual disabilities who has difficulty speaking, writing, and reading was arrested by CBP and charged with illegal entry. Despite being an American, CBP kept him detained for 10 days. Mr. President, there are countless gut-wrenching stories like this. Courts have already raised concerns about CBP's inability to uphold the Constitution. Mr. President, I'm of the view that America needs strong enforcement at the border to protect our people against criminals and drug traffickers. But that does not have to come at the expense of violating Americans' constitutional rights. Our country does not need a border agency that indiscriminately violates the rights of Americans, or one that feels like it's above due process and above the law. That doesn't make our country safer. It only leads to corruption, more wrongful arrests, and more wrongful deaths. Americans do not need to choose between security and our rights. We can have both, just as Ben Franklin said many years ago. I fear that confirming Mr. Scott will make our country less secure and less free. For that reason, I strongly oppose this nomination. I yield back.